Hey tea heads, this is Don from Mayleaf, and today I'm going to be drinking a little bit of an oddity. This is called KOJI PLUM, and it's a fermented Japanese tea. So it's a ripened tea, also known as post-fermented, also known as heicha. Now, of course, China has a long history of ripening and fermenting teas. And in Japan, they have been fermenting tea for quite a while as well. Goishicha is the most famous Japanese fermented tea, post-fermented tea. I'm not a big fan of goishicha. I know a lot of people out there like it, but for me, it's a bit too sour and a bit too aggressive, and I'm not really into it, which is why we've never stocked it. But I tasted this tea here, which is fermented with koji. Now, koji is the same starter that's used to make sake, used to make miso and soy sauce. So it's a very famous mold starter to use for fermentation, and it has a very particular taste, and I really enjoyed this koji fermented ripe tea. So we purchased some. You can get this is made by one company in Japan, so you can get this from other sources, but we purchased some because I thought it's a fun tea to have in your collection. It's unusual and it tastes great when brewed properly, I think. So let's dive into it. Before we get into it, I'm just going to introduce our new Gaiwan. So our new 100ml Gaiwan, for those of you who don't know, we released exclusive limited edition styles of 100ml Gaiwan, and this one here is called Pinnacle Tea. So you can see it's got the leaf, the pinnacle leaf atop the apex of the mountain, Pinnacle Tea. There you go. So that's our new Gaiwan. Also, by popular demand, we have a new tea pet. This is our big mouth frog tea pet. You can obviously pour tea into this tea pet and it will happily slurp and drink along with you. But you can also use it to hold tools, as you can see. I'm sure there are other functions, but we have a frog tea pet like this, and every time we took a picture of it and posted it on Instagram, everyone was asking, where can we get them? We want one, so we had them made. They're all available online. And also, since I'm measuring out, these have just come back in, although they are flying, so I don't know when you see this video if they're still available. Right, I'm gonna measure out 5 grams. Let's see if I can eyeball it. I reckon that's about 5 grams. Oh no, wrong, 4.3. Always harder with these broken leaves. Okay, that'll do 5.2 grams. So let's take a look at these leaves. They're obviously fermented, they're broken, but Japanese teas in general are a little bit more broken than Chinese teas. That's mostly to do with the intensive rolling phase that they go through when making the green tea. So this is a green tea which has then been fermented with koji. The scope on it, season, this is multiple pickings across multiple cultivars. So the picking window is between May and June 2022. The cultivar is a blend of Yabukita, Benifuki, and Surugawase. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. Surugawase is the third cultivar. So it's a mix of cultivars. And as I said, you know, this company who's making it probably has experimented with different cultivar blends to find the right one. The origin of this is Isagawa Valley in Shizuoka in Japan. Picking on it looks like bud and young leaves, mostly young leaves, elevations between 300 to 400 meters. Okay, put that down. You can see the look of the leaves, sort of very dark khaki brown colored leaves. Let's heat up this TEAWARE, and I'm going to crank the temperature up to boiling point, and we can begin. And Froggy can join me here. Just give the frog a little bit of water, and in go these leaves. So here we go, our first smell of KOJI plum. I have obviously tasted this as a sampler when it arrived, but here we go. Now we're going to have a proper 10-step tasting. And I'm going to be obviously making some comparisons with ripe pu'er, but not too many, because in my opinion, they're very, very different. This is this, which is a good thing, this has a character unto itself. What I'm smelling a little bit of fudge. I'm smelling salted plums, preserved plums. I'm getting some dried apples. So the fruits are dried, preserved, and that's really key here. I think that that's the fermentation process in action. I'm getting some of those sweet soy-covered rice crackers. So what I love about this tea is it is unashamedly Japanese. It has a very Japanese smell to it. So I'm getting like those salted plums, sweet soy crackers, and those rice crackers. I'm also getting some sort of dark biscuits, like dark Tweel biscuits, but it's unmistakably a Japanese aroma. Hard to put my finger on, but I guess it's that soy quality to it. It reminds me a little bit of a hojicha, a good hojicha that has that soy, sweet, savory note to it. And of course, being fermented with koji, which is used to make miso and sake, and soy sauce is gonna obviously influence that as well. Just heat the water up. It's only at 80 degrees. So I'm just going to keep filling this frog and seeing. That's what we do with our frog, and you just get these little drips forming on the tongue. It's a bit of an unusual teapot, I realize that, but I really love it. The big mouth teapot. You can put tools on it. I don't know, like puer picks, I guess you could put on it as well. It'll store that. Maybe even the filter. I'll try that later. Okay. Rinse time. Okay, let's have a sniff of this KOJI plum. Okay, so let's talk about the similarities with puer. So I am getting I was going to say antique woods, but it's not that deep. It's fresher, it's lighter. So resin, I'm getting resin, like violin resin. I am getting some sort of dank, crypt-like quality to it. But there the similarities end. Instead, I'm getting a very distinct Ceylon black tea aroma. And I know it's a bit silly to use tea as an aroma for tea, but there's a very particular aroma that is from those Ceylon teas that are used to make teh tarik, that are used to make Hong Kong milk tea. They have a slight acidity to them. They have a vibrancy, an aliveness about them. And I'm getting that there. I picture those very dark brewed, like almost orange Ceylon teas that you combine with milk. So teh tarik. I'm getting umeboshi. Again, like these pickled plums, preserved plums. What else? I'm getting like there's a so that resin is not moved into varnish, but is moved more to like a eucalyptus. So it's herbaceous, but still liniment-like, still in that sort of medicinal sort of quality. So yeah, eucalyptus, those dried plums, a little bit of raisins. So raisins, you know, just dried fruits, lots and lots of dried fruits. Okay, so we're at 100 degrees, and I'm going to brew this. I'm going to say 25 seconds. I'm going to have to experiment a little bit. You can brew this Western style for longer. I haven't really tried it. My suspicion is, from my recollection with the sample, is that it's quite light, especially if you're going to compare it with Heicha, like ripe puer tea, And so you want to brew it gongfu style and quite strong. So let's see, I'm going to sort of guesstimate 25 seconds. And we shall see. Let me know, do you like goishicha if you've tried fermented Japanese teas before? I'm not really into them. Too sour, too aggressive for me. I reckon that's about 25 seconds, there or thereabouts. Yeah, being a Japanese tea, this is gonna take a bit more to strain. A little bit more broken leaf. So the first color of the liquor, you can see, first infusion is cloudy. It will clear up as well, I'm sure. But the color is very interesting. It's sort of got like a dark, like apricot and rose color to it. Can you see that? Come on. Very different from a Chinese HR. Okay. KOJI Plum. Cheers, everybody. Texture is medium in the mouth. It's not going to be as thick as a ripe pu'er, but it's medium, and again, it suits this taste, which is a lot fresher, a lot fruitier, and a lot zingier than your sort of average HR, or your sort of more sort of the palate that you'd expect from a HR. And the taste is very unique, and the transformation in the mouth is very unique. And I'm going to talk about all of that. But let's focus on taste first. So I'm getting that milk tea taste. I imagine like a very strong Ceylon black milk tea, but then you've put in a big spoonful of dark fudgy brown sugar. It's very brown sugar, date sugar, palm sugar. It's got that quality to it. That's the really satisfying, warming nature of it. It's sweet and strong and rich in those sweet black tea, milk tea tastes. I'm getting those raisins. I'm getting those dates. I'm getting a little bit of dark apricot. So dried apricots, but I don't know. But you know, sometimes they go a bit more brown, a bit more oxidized. Dark apricot taste. Touch of vanilla, touch of antique wood, but again, very different from the HRs made in China. Much more of the dried fruit note. There is also like I said before, Hojicha has that soy sauce quality, but it also has that chicory root, or probably better, like roasted barley or chicory root that sort of is moving into the territory of coffee beans, but not there. And it's got that as well. Not so much the roast, but that nuttiness and that slight sort of light, rounded bitters that you get from a milky coffee or a roasted barley. So yeah, the liquor has now cleared up in terms of it's clearer. Give this one more taste, and I want to talk to you about the transformation, which I think is one of the key aspects of this tea. Yeah. Strong Teh-tarik pulled milk tea, brown sugar, dates. plums, dried plums, but yeah, more preserved plums, antique woods. I think I've covered most, a little bit of that sweet soy again in there. Now let's talk about the transformation. Medium in the mouth, then moves to this bright, almost like metallic, not in taste, but like in feel, like this bright, fresh, zingy quench. So it goes dry, but it's one of the hardest things for me to describe is this feeling, because every word I've tried to come up with doesn't work. I say zingy, or I say bright, or I say metallic, or I say cutting, or you know, it's just, there's a particular transformation. It's very rapid here. You get this lovely warm, you know, tea, and then you drink, and it's like a very rapid switch to this, yeah, I'll just say it's sort of a metallic, fresh quench in the mouth, not taste. So I'm not getting a metallic taste, but it's almost like slightly moving into that, like battery zing, but not quite. It's just very fresh, very vibrant. And then you get this juiciness coming from the sides of your mouth, which is, again, like dates or brown sugar, like palm sugar, like, yeah, palm sugar, deep, fudgy, sweet. Almost also has a slight alcoholic quality to it. This doesn't contain alcohol. It is fermented, but it's not going to contain alcohol. But it has that rounded, like oxidized wine or sweet sake sort of vaporousness. So the aroma coming up my nose is almost like I've just drunk a very sweet sake wine. A touch of the undergrowth, a little bit, like, yeah, like a little bit of, say, button mushroom going underneath it all, just so it gives you a little bit of the forest, but the predominance is sweet black tea, brown sugars, dates and fudge, and then sort of the raisiny, apricot-y and preserved plums with that like sweet soy quality over the top. One more infusion. Let's smell the empty Gong Da Bei. Ooh, again, sweet, deep, concentrated, dark fruits. Like, it's like you've taken strawberries and you've made one of those fruit rolls with the strawberries, or like a strawberry jam, but the strawberry jam is somehow a very dark, slightly oxidized, dark, fudgy strawberry smell. Very concentrated. And it also has a little bit of a creme caramel. So you imagine like strawberry jam, then you sort of combine that with that dark top layer of a creme caramel. That's what I mean about that darkness. So it's again that sort of brown sugar, cooked slight heat, like heated sugar. So it's not burnt, but it's just a little bit closer to those sort of more brulee style smells. A really, really lovely smell on the whole experience here. And it's unique because I can't really recall a tea with so much of that sort of concentrated, dark, dried and preserved fruit note. The transformation though, when you get this tea, that feeling of brightness, one day I'll come up with the right word for it. I hope that when you try it, you know what I mean. It's like, it's got such a particular feel. That, I think, is the real jewel in this tea. Taste is great and unique. It's that transformation that I love the most. You take a look at the leaves here. can start to see that it is a green tea that has been fermented. We're putting this as a ripe tea, by the way, on the website, so don't bother looking up under green tea. This is a ripe tea. It has been post-fermented. I should say that the after the fermentation phase, the producer, not really. No, I wouldn't say it stores a strainer. The producer, after the fermentation, then steams the tea to sterilize it, sort of basically stop the fermentation process from continuing. That's very different from HR. In China, they wouldn't do that. They'd allow the tea to stay alive and to continue to age and ferment. So I'm not sure how this will age. Might age okay. Maybe it's better for you to sort of drink it relatively fresh. And when I say relatively fresh, sort of within the next sort of 5 years. So I'll probably put a 5-year best before date on this, but it's unknown. It might age quite well. Let's see. Yeah, the flavor profile is very consistent, albeit it gets sweeter. That brown sugar sweetness, that palm sugar sweetness builds and builds and builds, and it leaves a lovely, lingering, juicy brown sugar sweetness, demerara sugar sweetness in your mouth. Gorgeous, gorgeous tea. Body sensation on this, I do not expect this to be a caffeine punch. I think it has a sense of warming, calming, comforting. Imagine you've taken like a really good quality fruity black Ceylon milk tea, and then you've added like that roasty, slightly savory but sweet notes of a good Japanese hoji cha. And then you've just thrown in a little few drops of a good quality ripe pu'er just to add that sort of depth of sort of woods and undergrowth and sort of dry fruit resinous quality. That's the taste in the cup, and I would say that it generally will have a quite comfortable, relaxing might be too strong a word. It's going to be comfortable and I think warming, but still fresh and sweet in the mouth. Hope you like it. Check it out if you're interested. It certainly is one of those teas that I think is a great tea to have in your collection as a sort of oddball, off-the-wall tea that you're going to pull out, and it will certainly surprise a few people, and it might be a fun tea to sort of blind taste with a tea head. So you can say, what type of tea is this? Can you guess which type of tea it is? Because it's sort of a hybrid tea, which certainly is very, very unique and very, very delicious. That's it, tea heads. Check out our other videos, taste our teas wherever you're on the world by browsing mayleaf.com, and come visit us if you're ever in London. Other than that, I'm Don from Mayleaf. Thank you for being a part of the revelation of true tea. Stay away from those tea bags. Keep drinking the good stuff and spread the word, because nobody deserves bad tea. Bye.